we're going to do 3 questions or 2 questions from the pre-submitted questions, and then we will quite literally throw it out to the room with a little phone ball, and you can ask your questions that you need to ask to Rama. So we're going to do 3 from pre-submitted, 2 from the room, then we'll alternate between that each time. Does that make sense? Fabulous. Okay, are you ready to get started?
I am.
Amazing. You're all
Oh
good.
yes, I've got my own one. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everybody in the room, and good afternoon for the students who are online. And this is an annual event which I very much look forward to because it's a real opportunity for me to engage directly with at least a subset of the university student body. And actually, increasingly as people walk into the room, it seems to me like probably one of the best attended in my 11 years here as Vice-Chancellor. So delighted that so many of you, who are quite busy, I'm sure, have given up the time to be here. And I do want to say, for many of you, you have been studying through quite a challenging time at university, and it's been a challenging time generally, both in terms of the post-COVID impact as well as issues around cost of living. So I'm very mindful that students are going through a very challenging period, and it's in that context that you are all working really hard on your courses. So really good to be with you. I'm delighted that so many of you are here, and look forward to answering some of your questions.
Amazing. Thank you. So let's get started, I guess. While some students experience placement without issues, others have the issues occur to them. A student asked us, what are the university doing about ongoing placement issues?
Okay, no, thank you. And I think a very significant number of our students, particularly all those students in the Faculty of Medicine, Health and Social Care, and also students in teacher education, all our placements are a fundamental part and a core part of your course. So placements are really important, and it's in that context that I want to give the answer. But I also want to be very transparent and open. I'm very aware, as many of you probably in these subject areas on placements have had challenges with placements, and I'm sorry that not every student's placement experience has been uniformly good. There have been some very good experiences you've talked to me about, and there are some individuals who have either written to me and come to me to talk about some of the less good experiences you've had with placements, and I'm genuinely sorry because I think it is an important part of your curriculum and your course. So I think part of the challenge, obviously, particularly if you are on placement in the health area, in health courses, has been around the post-pandemic effects of making sure the placements are back up and running and the placement supervision is in place. And that's taken a little while, and we have to, as a university, improve our interaction with the providers of health and social care placements. Schools, I think it's a little bit smoother, I think, in terms of placements. In any event, I think our placement providers and the university, we have a contract, or we have a memorandum of understanding, and both parties have got to adhere to that. And we haven't always done our bit, and I know in some cases placement providers have also had challenges at their end, which has led to individual students feeling let down by placement providers. It's also the case that I think our placement allocation system is not working as well as it should. So we have now purchased a new system, IT system, to manage placements on, which will, I think, go live from next academic year. So quite a lot of effort and thought is going into improving both the placements themselves as well as the allocation of placements. I hope that's a fairly full answer, but I do recognize placements have not been great for all students as they should be, and I'm sorry that's been the case.
Thank you, Rama. So the next question is, what's the university's standpoint on conflicts that are going on in the world, and do they believe we are learning from history or just
Okay, this is, the first thing I should say is, I mean, the university has no political affiliation. So the university as a body is a political, and indeed we are very careful, as far as is practical, to ensure we remain neutral politically. In terms of the global conflicts, and there are many, many conflicts right around the world, it's fair to say that, you know, we are living in quite troubled times. It's certainly not the first time in my lifetime we have seen the level of turbulence, conflict, instability globally. But certainly it may be for many of you the first time there's been this level of global conflict with the level of heightened risk to humanity, to put it bluntly. Are we learning from the conflicts of the past? I suppose if you'd asked me the question 20 years ago, I would have probably said, yes, you know, the world was in a more stable place. We had learned from the two world wars, and we had learned from some of the impacts of that. But clearly, you know, we haven't learned enough, because we are, as humans, being unkind to each other, whether that is at a local level or global level. And I think there is a lot more to learn. But I think, you know, we are living in a very unstable and challenged environment. But I think we have to remain positive. I've always remained positive that peace will prevail. Ultimately, peace will prevail above all of these conflicts. And conflicts can't go on forever. So I'm an optimist, and in that spirit. From a university perspective, we are apolitical, we have no political affiliation, but we are very mindful of the importance of ensuring that the university community, and just looking around this room, and I suspect friends online as well, we are a very diverse community. And my priority as Vice-Chancellor is to make sure that our community is inclusive, it is supportive of each other, and it is a cohesive community, and a diverse and cohesive community. So our priority as a university at this time is to make sure every student and every member of staff feels that they are supported, regardless of their diverse backgrounds.
Thank you, Rama. So another question before we go to the room. With the university looking towards more partnership working and developing the international student recruitment, what assurances can you give students that they will receive the same educational experience as directly taught students at CCCU?
Yes, so partnerships, we have partner institutions in the UK and overseas, as Alice has just said, and there are students in those partner institutions, colleges, in the UK and overseas who are doing Canterbury Christchurch University degrees. And if a Canterbury Christchurch University degree is to mean something, the quality and standards of that course, whether it's taught here, taught in a partner college in Manchester or Leeds, or taught in a partner institution in Hong Kong or Cyprus, the quality and standards of the program has to be the same, and that, you know, we have a very robust quality assurance process to ensure that those standards are maintained. The wider student experience for the students, in some senses, can't be the same, but they will need to be similar. And the reason I say that is the context of students studying in our partner institutions varies hugely. If you look at some of our students studying in partner institutions in Leeds or Manchester or Northampton, they are students, more mature students, studying in evening classes or studying at weekends or doing block learning lessons. Their priorities and the context within which they are studying is different. So what we want to ensure is that they have similar opportunities, but not necessarily, they won't necessarily be the same, because what those students are looking for in their student experience may be slightly different from somebody who's on a Canterbury campus or on our Medway campus or our Tunbridge Wells campus.
Okay, so we're going to go to the room now. Has anyone got a question that they would like to ask?
Thank you. Thank you. Other universities, in particular the University of London, are awarding honorary B.Ed degrees to former students who gained certificates years ago. The University of London has done this for their alumni from Nonnington and Sittingbourne colleges, both now closed. Is our university, which originally used London for its awards, going to award honorary B.Ed degrees to our alumni who were awarded certificates before the 1980s, as other universities have done so already?
I'm just going to quickly repeat the question.
Yeah,
Online.
okay.
I think the summary is, are we retrospectively going to award Cert Ed qualifications, no, B education qualifications to our students that are here as Cert Ed?
Okay, these are students who studied with us in the 1960s, 1970s, and possibly up to 1981. So it's an interesting question, probably raised on behalf of a member of our alumni, I guess. And I have had correspondence with some of our alumni on this. The answer is, unusually for me, I'm going to sort of say, I can't be absolutely definitive in terms of whether the answer, what our response is. Other than to say, in those days when students did cert-eds for teacher training, they were University of London degrees. They were not Canterbury Christchurch University degrees because we didn't have degree awarding powers. So, in a sense, it is not our cert-HE qualification to, in a sense, upgrade in that way. So that's the first thing to say. Though I'm very aware other universities have done this, so I absolutely acknowledge a number of universities have done this. But I do think that's an important point, because the previous question was about our partners, our partner colleges. Our partner colleges currently award Canterbury Christchurch University degrees, and I wouldn't want any of our partner colleges to make any decisions about our degrees today, tomorrow, or 30 years' time in the future about what are Canterbury Christchurch University qualifications. So, in the same vein, we have to be careful when they're not our qualifications around trying to upgrade qualifications. The second point I'd make is teacher training is not the only discipline where there were different levels of qualification. You can look at nursing, which wasn't a degree level subject, until the last 30 years or so. So again, in a sense, if we go back retrospectively, where does one draw the line? A qualification is a qualification at a point in time. So as I sit here today, my view is that we are unlikely to be following in the footsteps of a number of other universities which have done this. They will have their own motivations for doing this, but I think there's something important about universities having degree awarding powers, and those powers have to be exercised appropriately and carefully and responsibly, and retrospectively awarding qualifications to whole groups of students, however worthy that might be, is something which will need a lot of thought and a lot of care. Thought and care I've given so far to the subject suggests that it's a route we are unlikely to take, and that's what I've said to the alumni who have written to me about it. But thank you for this question.
Thank you. Any other questions from the room right now? Yes.
So in terms of timetabling, I was wondering if the way timetabling for students is being looked at at all, because for example, just coming to this January, we didn't have a full timetable, or most of the year didn't, most by year, until after we had started at uni again for the year, which is very hard when you're trying to arrange childcare, jobs, things like this. I was wondering if this is an issue that's been raised at all or noticed.
Yeah, no, thank you, and I think this is a really, really important issue actually you've raised, timetabling, and it is very much on my and the senior team's radar. And I think, again, I want to be very clear, I think some of our timetabling has let our students down, and I'm sorry that has happened. But again, I think it's a little bit like the placement system, so I do want to acknowledge there has been an issue, there is an issue, and it is an issue which we need to fix. It's an issue which we need to fix in two ways. One is, I think you're quite right, we need to take account of patterns of study and patterns of student behavior, in the sense of a lot of students are commuting students who come onto campus on particular days, spending quite a lot of money, cost traveling, commuting to campus and so on. So we need to timetable much more smartly, so that certain courses, you're very clear, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, you will be on campus, rather than 1 hour on Mondays, 2 hours on Tuesdays, 3 hours on a Thursday and an hour on a Friday, which is not cost effective for the student. It doesn't allow them to plan their childcare or work commitments around this. So we are very mindful that timetabling needs to be done with students' interests in mind, and we're also mindful that we need, and again, I'm going to hardly have to repeat the same point I made, a new system to be implemented, i.e. an IT system to be implemented to actually deliver a modern timetable. So where are we with that? I think for September 2025, we won't be quite there with the new system. So we want to make the improvements in timetabling using the current system. So some of the challenges you have faced are not repeated next academic year. During the course of the next sort of 11 months, i.e. this calendar year, we want to have the new timetabling system in place, and for it to sort of smart timetabling, if you like, in IT speak, to be able to deliver a much improved timetabling experience. So thank you for raising that question, and a really important issue which impacts, I know, on many, many students across our 3 campuses. Thank you.
So on the topic of timetabling, one student's written in and said, when will you adhere to your timetabling policy? I think it's surrounding the Wednesday and the fact that it's supposed to finish up on Wednesday.
Yes, I mean, I think there are some subject areas where the qualification is regulated by a professional or statutory body, so General Medical Council for Medicine, Nursing and Midwifery Council for Nursing, and so on. There are some limitations, or there are some requirements about what has to be taught during the course, and that is sometimes hard to fix, fitting within a 4.5 working week. So there are going to be always exceptions, but with the exception of those exceptions, we really do try very hard to make sure that the Wednesday afternoons remain timetable free for the vast majority of students.
Okay. So students are also asking about potential facilities on campus, so potentially a daycare system, healthcare shots for basic medications, as other institutions have them. Would it be possible to have these additional facilities to support our student communities?
Okay. Well, an important part, I think, of making the campus more attractive for students to spend time in was obviously bringing, with your help and support with this sabbatical team and the student union officers, bringing the students' union from St. George's to onto our main campus, also creating the multi-user recreation games area onto campus. The next step then is, obviously we provide a significant amount of catering facilities on campus, and recognizing the cost of living crisis, doing that at very affordable prices. I think there is a distinction between a campus-based university which is out of town. So I came here 11 years ago. Before that, I was at Keele University, and Keele University is in a village. The nearest town, Newcastle on the Line, is about 4 miles away. So what Keele needed to provide on campus was much greater than, I think, a campus university which is in the heart of a city like Canterbury has to provide and is able to provide. So I just again want to be cautious, not make promises. We are happy to look at what other services you think might usefully be provided on campus, but they need to be cost effective. We know a lot of the services we provide, quite rightly, are at the moment not cost effective, but it's important they are available for students, catering being the obvious one. However, anything else we look at, we will need to look at in the context of what one can get just on the high street across the road. So I think there is a balance to be struck here, but we will happily look at any proposals which come from the student body.
Okay. So going back to the room now, does anyone else?
Three hands. So lady there, lady there.
So, would the university look into a proposal of perhaps something like a scheme for car parking for students? Parking, I know in Canterbury, is very, very difficult. There are a lot of students who actually travel in from the outside areas. It's very, very costly. I myself spent last year, I had a particular month where I had to park very close to campus for various different reasons, and I was spending at least £20 a day, that's £360 a month, that I'm not able to afford, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other students, it's not very cost effective, it's not, it's just a bit too much of an expense. What could the university do to support students in that situation?
So I'm just going to quickly repeat the question. What can the university do to support with parking costs and maybe a scheme on campus for those people to park?
Yeah. Okay, no, thank you. And I recognise that commuting is a costly business. Hence my earlier comment when we were talking about timetabling, the importance of smart timetabling so students are not shuttling backwards and forwards from their home to the campus on multiple days unnecessarily. In terms of use of public transport, there is quite a lot available, but I recognise Kent is a county, and you're quite rightly saying that Kent is a county substantially of villages with limited public transport access. So park and rides and the like, which are available in Canterbury, are another alternative. I think, again, being really open and straight with our student body, that being in the heart of a city, a small city like Canterbury, there is a real challenge around facilitating parking. I mean, the university, the Canterbury campus, I think it's a bit easier at the Medway campus and the Tunbridgewell campuses, but in Canterbury, even staff car parking is a tiny amount of cars we are able to accommodate on this campus. So I think in terms of providing more parking spaces, I think that's going to be really difficult and challenging. But what we will need to, I think, work with you and the Students' Union on is to look at whether there are other things we can do in terms of financing, supporting cycling schemes. I mean, again, distance will matter. One can't, get to the campus from lots of places by bicycle in a sensible time. But it may be possible to, cycle to a train station, to come by train up into Canterbury, and then cycle across. So we have to look at, I think, other ways of supporting you. And again, happy to continue a dialogue with the Students' Union on your behalf about what sort of transport schemes might be helpful to you, and how we might be able to find ways, if it is possible, to subsidise those, particularly in relation to bus services, train services, etc. But that doesn't help everybody. I recognise if you're living in a part of the world with no access to public transport, when the car becomes a crucial element. So I think it is a challenge, but again, if there are ideas and schemes, the park and ride schemes were created by the City Council in part to recognise the challenge around bringing cars into Canterbury. And obviously there's an environment and sustainability dimension as well, which the university and I know the Students' Union is also committed to. So we've got to balance all of these up, but again, if there are ideas and thoughts, please do put them forward through the Students' Union, and we will look at those. Thank you.
according to them, the school, Christchurch, it doesn't want to enter into any negotiation with them. So they cut our money, yet they don't want us to use the weekly bus pass to enter the bus. And it's quite unfair because if you say I'm not eligible, my money should not be collected. So I don't know. And when I went to their office, they said because Christchurch doesn't want to enter into any, is not interested in entering any negotiation, doesn't want to maybe support their students in subsidizing it. So I think on the app they have that of monthly, but they don't have weekly. So I don't know if if people can look into them so that for those using the bus, it can be subsidized instead of having to pay £2 for every trip.
So I think the summary of that question is there a possibility of entering into negotiations around the stagecoach bus tickets? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And I think what you're saying is you could have a monthly pass, but
Weekly.
you could have a weekly pass, but at the moment you're not able to get it.
No, there is none for Christchurch, but Union of Kent has, which most of us use. But some bus drivers will not let you because they say it's specifically for Union of Kent, and it's a challenge because at the end of the day we have paid for it, but we are not allowed to use it.
Right, well that doesn't seem very fair to me, all right. So I'll take it away, and one of my colleagues is in the room. Between us, Ruth and I will have a look at this, and we will talk to our colleagues who liaise with local transport companies who are in the estates department. So we'll pick that up and follow it up, because that doesn't seem to me fair. At a time when cost of living is so high, we want our students to be able to get the maximum discounts and subsidy in terms of travel. So thank you for that question.
Thank you.
So I think we're going to go back to the pre-submitted and we will come back to the room in 2 questions' time. A student has noticed that the university was politically involved with the war in Ukraine. He released statements and showed support by flying the flag in front of the library. However, the university is reluctant to support Palestine or call for a ceasefire, which has been done by Amnesty International. Why has it taken so long for the university to respond? What is the university standpoint? Is there any support for a free Palestine? Oh, call for a ceasefire.
Okay, I want to kind of go back to where I started on this. I mean, the university doesn't take a political position on any issue, whether it's UK politics or international politics. Our position is really one very much around peace. So as it happens, I was both in the West Bank and in Israel when the conflict started in early October. So I was there firsthand, and I do understand the impact that conflict is having on a number of people, not just from that part of the world, but more widely as well, because we are all human beings and we are affected by what we see. But as a university, we don't take a political position. Our position is very much around ensuring that we are supporters of peace. And that's why every Friday there is a peace vigil in the chapel, attended by, a wide range of staff and students at different times. And our commitment is to wanting to have peace in the world, peace and harmony. But most importantly, to repeat what I said at the start, we as a university, my role as Vice-Chancellor is primarily about ensuring community harmony within the university, not about taking political positions. And I think that's the right thing for the university to do. Of course, as individuals, we will all have views on the various conflicts in the world, and similarly I have views, but I think it's important as head of the university, my role is to support all students and all staff across the university. And if I go back to when the conflict between Russia and Ukraine started, we did make sure every Russian member of staff and Russian student was also contacted at the same time as support for Ukrainian staff and Ukrainian students, because it's important, because I think by and large both our Russian and Ukrainian staff and students are, in a sense, innocent parties caught up in an unfortunate conflict.
What support is currently available for international students? This is to do with study, work and cost of living support.
Okay, I think there are two parts to this answer. I mean, there are a number of international students here in the room, so I'm very mindful of that. I think our student services and student support at first pass have to be about supporting all our students equitably right across the board, whether it's in terms of student support, hardship funding, whether it's to do with employment opportunities, part-time jobs, etc. We need to support all our students and shouldn't delineate between home and overseas students. However, we're also very mindful that when you going to university is a big step, and that's a big step. Even if you are somewhere in Kent, moving to halls of residence to study in Canterbury, but it's a very big step if you are coming from an overseas country, different language, different culture, different climate, different context altogether. So our international partnerships office is very much there to provide that specific additional assistance and support to international students, recognizing that there is a difference in that area between international students and home students, the difference being the context from which international students are come here. We recognize, I think, that there's more we need to do to support our international students, and one of the reasons in December and early January, our Director for International, Stephen Lammiman, some of you will have met Stephen. Stephen has been doing a number of workshops as part of revising our international strategy and our international approach, because it's important that we, and particularly his office, is able to meet the needs and aspirations of our international student community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go back to the room. I think it was you, and you. Sorry, I'm saying you. There's no other way of doing it. And then I think back. Thank you. That was really helpful.
So my question is, if the school could look into the sporting system, because if you are enrolling, they tell you there is a bursary for sports people, but then you enter, and especially myself for the men's football team, you have to pay money to join the team. So I'm thinking, if I want to play football as a student and then help send the name of the school outside for people to be interested as well, why should I pay money? Because if due to the hardship of the system now, let's say accommodations are almost taking every maintenance loan that we are collecting already, and then the timetable system is taking Monday to Friday of our lectures. So that means I've got only Saturday and Sunday to work. But if I have to go to church or anything, that means I've got only one day to work. So if I don't get enough money to pay for the sporting thing, then that means I cannot engage in sports. And myself, I've been an example, because the whole of last semester I couldn't join the football team, even though last year I was part of it, but I couldn't join it. So I had to speak to one of the sports guys, and then they offered to help. So I'm saying, is there a way that the school could take that off and then encourage other students? Because we've got other groups that people join for free, like the church and everything that people join. So if someone is interested in playing football or joining any other sporting thing, why should we pay to join to do something without?
Okay, so I think
just read that back. So what I'm hearing is around sports scholarships and funding for sports. Is that the right kind of lines?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think there are two parts to this answer. I mean, there's the university funding and support for sport in terms of what we are investing in facilities. And then I think there is the student sports societies, and I'm looking at Max here, which are run by the Students' Union. And let me start with the university's responsibility. I mean, our responsibility, and we've invested very significantly over the last 10, 15 years in sport. So the sports centre was built probably just before I started here. I think it was probably 12, 13 years ago, which obviously has got the gym facilities and other facilities. We then invested in Polo Farm in sports facilities. We are trying to upgrade the pitches in Stockmarsh for football, because I do think the Stockmarsh pitches are not the standard which we what students would expect. So we are in negotiations with Polo Farm about what we can do to provide higher quality AstroTurf pitches. So they are sort of areas where there was significant, we're talking about millions of pounds needing to be invested. And it's right that the university should, as part of its income, use that income to support student sports. But they need sports as well as students who just want to play something when they've got some time, not in a formal sense. And the multi-use recreational area on campus was created last year, partly to allow students to be able to do things just informally and casually. I know it's a bit cold and wet and windy today, but in that sort of vein. So I think that's, you know, a really important commitment. We have continued to invest in that. And of course, when we identify elite scholars or elite sports scholars who are wanting to practice, train and participate, and as you know, many have done represented England at different sports in the Olympics and elsewhere. We are happy to, you know, obviously invest there as well. Now, the running of sports societies and sports clubs sits within the ambit of the Students' Union, and there are a number of sports clubs and societies which you will be obviously, presumably a member of the football club or society. Now the Student Union, again, has to, and I don't want to speak for the Students' Union, but the Students' Union also has to have a income stream to be able to then invest in the costs incurred in running that football club or rugby club or cricket club or dance club or music society or whatever. And I think there's a conversation I think for you to have with the Students' Union about student societies and the funding associated with that. So I don't think I can answer that bit for the Students' Union. I don't know whether as any of the sabbatical officers or the union officers want to say anything about that. But you're right. I mean, I think we do want to make, you know, sport affordable. We want to make the arts and music and being able to participate in music and drama affordable. It's really important that our students are able to participate in extracurricular activities. And going back to timetabling, I think we do want to move to a smarter timetable model where, you know, there is space beyond the Wednesday afternoons and teaching can be grouped accordingly.
I'm going to hand over to my colleague over there.
Just to kind of add into what Rama was saying. So I guess there's two memberships. So there's the Christchurch Sport membership, which is what you'll pay, and that money that you pay feeds into paying for your facilities, your transport. So there's a reason why there's a cost to that, so that we can actually afford to send students to play bucks, fixtures, and go. There, the student union cost is actually more set by the clubs themselves. So football will set £20, and that, now that we've had this new membership model, it actually doesn't pay for facilities or anything like that. That's set by the clubs for their own kind of, I guess, end of year things, kits, things like that. So they set the prices. So actually we tend to actually not really have much to do with that. We do advise clubs to make it as cheap as possible, obviously. We have a hardship fund if you are struggling to pay for sports, specifically sports and society. So if you are struggling, do get in touch, and then we can help fund. What we've been offering at the moment is funding one term at least, and then looking to fund another term as well, and pay for your SU membership as well. So if you are struggling, please do come speak to us. Always happy to speak to Christchurch Sport about membership prices if they are too high. If you're a scholar, you should get a bursary, if that's correct as well. So that should help towards it as well if you've been accepted for that. But again, that's they're kind of
year was not like that. We had a sponsor
Mhm.
from Fireway or something.
Yeah.
Who gave us like 10K. So
Sure.
I'm asking if it becomes like that, it's more like a burden to us
Yeah.
because we are not getting enough after paying our rent and everything. So
Yeah.
how
No.
can the school help the students union so that the students union can also reduce their prices a bit for the students?
Yeah, so I think, so again, students go out and we help support that and get their own sponsorship. So it would have been football would have gone away and got Fire Away Pizza, I think, did sponsor them, they pay for the kit. And sometimes they aren't as lucky to get a sponsorship, but we are there to support them if they need it. So that should bring the cost of kit down. We're looking at doing maybe a headline sponsor as well for the whole of kits, bringing the cost down for students as well. So just signed a deal with New Balance. You've probably seen that football has got that. So hopefully we can bring the cost down a bit for them as well. So yeah, there's definitely stuff, but come speak to us and hopefully we can help you out with that. But yeah, if you need to access the Access to Opportunities Fund to help support you right now, then we're more than happy to do that for you. Cool.
Amazing.
No worries.
You already have it in front of you, so you might as well go ahead.
I just want to ask, how will you ensure that student leadership continues within the highest levels of the university going forward?
The student leadership and student representation is incredibly important for the university, and that's why the student union president is a full member of the university's governing body and a director and trustee of the university. So that's the level, and then obviously on the academic board, which is the senior academic committee, there are 2 sabbatical officers who sit on that, and that representation goes all the way through to course representation and student representatives. So I think it's really important students are involved with the running and the governance of the university. Now, was there a specific issue behind that question?
Obviously, we're aware that Alice is moving on. How is student leadership going to look until it's being re-elected for Rama?
Yeah, I think to some extent that is a matter for the students' union. In terms of the university, I've had conversations with Alice and with Ben about the importance of maintaining a connectivity between the students' union and the governing body. And whilst the articles of the university, i.e. the governing documents of the university, are very clear that the student union president is a director and trustee, nobody else can be, we would very much like the remaining sabbatical officers to come together and provide at each of the governing body meetings a sabbatical officer's report instead of the student union president's report, and for one of them to come and attend and present their report so that their voice continues to be heard between now and 1st of July when you will have the new sabbatical team.
Okay, so if we just do one more question, and then I'll go back to, because we've actually gone through some of the questions that we've already got down in the room. So I'll do one more from pre-submitted after we've done your question. No, let's do that one first. Let's just make it simple.
The microphone is on its way. The gentleman with a cap.
Thank you very much being here, Mr. VC. It's been so long that, personally, we tried a lot to reach you. This is quite unfair that, you can't, as an overseas student, meet to your VC to, present those issues which are very, very common, right? So I'm here to present my Pakistani Student Society. It's been 3rd or 4th years, like we are contributing in a university in terms of, pounds. We are paying like 13,000 each student, and we are more than 500 students every, you can say every, like if you have 2 intakes and we are more than 1,000 students at the same time in the university, right? So in terms of support, continually, we are getting only support from 2 people. One, student union, another mental health team, well-being team. And other than that, all your course administration, all your course directors, they are continually busy spoiling mental health of the overseas students because they don't have any idea how to tackle with the overseas students, right? If you need any examples, so we can give you 100 of examples, right? Whatever they are doing, they don't have idea. You need to take it very, very serious. You need to train to the each department according to the rules and regulation, right? And another thing, for instance, a student is paying, 30,000 pounds. Obviously, a year that a normal cost is coming out, it's approximately, you can say, 25,000 to 35,000. So more or less, a student is paying, nearly 40,000 pounds for a year. So that's also a pressurized situation. So you were, giving answer to that student that in terms of, parking and all that, and then transportation issues. So both the answers were not appropriate. There are plenty of other options that you could, apply. Like in terms of suggestion, you could apply to help them. Here in Canterbury, lots of Pakistani students are coming. They don't have any reference here in UK, but they do have right to get international study from the CCCU or anywhere else. Why not university is giving them a grantor that they can get a flat somewhere, that they can book a student accommodation somewhere. Just because of this thing, they are unable to get an accommodation here in Canterbury. They are actually in a huge compulsion to live outside the Canterbury. If they are living outside the Canterbury, they have to travel every day, and they are spending every day approximately 50 pounds by train, by buses, and by the other transport, whatever they are using. So how would you like to address to these issues that are very, very concernable? And the last question, it's not a question, it's a suggestion. Would you mind please just putting up physically to your fee department? She's here. She could explain you better how many complaints they are receiving in the fee course assessment team. We have paid our fees, but it's been 10 days, we haven't received any confirmation from the fee department. We are not well aware about the technology and all that. So would you mind considering these things, that we have a number of students who are not well aware about the technology? Why not we can put two people physically, in the Augustin Hall? If you have any kind of fee issue, you want to submit your fee, you are unable to, pay, how to pay. So you can go physically to there and to the counter, and then they can help you to pay. Why we are relying all the time on emails? These are the major concerns that you need to consider, and you need to really, really think about them. Even one of our, teacher here, Zulfi Ali, so we explained him properly as well, and he, he gave us a guarantee that he will definitely discuss these are the issues with the VC, and possibly in the future we will get some kind of, positive responses. And I personally tried to catch you as well throughout the academic year, but couldn't catch you. And you also need to pay more attention on the English department, language and linguistic department. They are quite, away from the overseas Spain, and they're just continually busy putting, huge stress in their life and all that, because they don't have idea how to deal with the overseas students. So you need to consider these are the issues. Otherwise, there will be a, lobby or campaign, against the university and so on. So I'm afraid that we can't hold to that situation, because everyone is in a huge shock since we are in the university. We're getting a lot more difficulties, because in terms of support, we are not getting any academic support here. Thank you very much, Mr. Visa.
Okay, well, clearly, there are other people who share your views, and I'm very distressed actually, and very sorry to hear some of the things you've said, because I know you've said that on behalf of a number of people.
Yeah, exactly.
So that really, I do feel very distressed about what I've heard. I don't think we would want any of our students, whether they are from Pakistan or anywhere else, to feel in this way in which you have described. I think it's the only positive thing which I think came out of that was the student union was supporting students well, and the student health and mental health and well-being team was supporting you well. So I mean, I'm holding on to those two positives, but there's clearly a lot of things which you and your fellow students are feeling dissatisfied about. I mean, there are. I mean, certainly there are issues around accommodation, which follow up, and issues around travel and English language and linguistics and all of that. But it would be helpful for me to, I think, better understand, not now, but
if you could allow us, we can give you in written form. If you could allow us to meet you physically in your office.
I may not be the best person to talk to.
That's what we are
Because-
receiving, honestly speaking,
Yeah.
since the day we
Yeah,
are
yeah.
here. It's been 15 months, and that's the same answer that we are
But
receiving.
there are others, very senior people, who have got direct executive responsibility for education and student experience. So I'll make sure either I or one of them, I won't name them, but one of them will meet with maybe a subgroup of students who you are representing here today to understand better, I think, the concerns. Because some of the things you've said, I think, are not acceptable. We do need to address them, and we want your time here to be a positive experience, both in England and in Canterbury and at Canterbury Christchurch University. We don't want it to be people to feel the way you are feeling.
Yeah.
So leave it with me. Perhaps you can leave your name or email, when we finish this meeting, and I'll make sure one of us senior people follow this up.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you
much,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your
Thank
question. And also thank you, Rama, for your answer. I'm going to go back to the questions that we've had pre-submitted, and we will make our way up to you. I'm really sorry, we will come back there. The university's late penalties penalise students for not submitting work after a 48-hour period. Why isn't the same applied for lecturers that mark work late?
That's a very good question. I think we are very clear in terms of our staff guidance to all teaching staff who do marking that there is a fixed period within which to provide feedback. There are sometimes personal circumstances which happen, illness, etc., which cause delay in feedback. But if there is systematic issues of delayed feedback, then again, I think we would want to know about it, and we would want to take it up with the head of department, because I think that's not acceptable. I think feedback needs to be within the prescribed 3-week period, unless there are exceptional reasons for not being able to do that. So there should be no reason why we shouldn't be able to provide feedback. And assessments need to be organised by lecturers in a way which allows them an evenly distributed ability to provide feedback. And sometimes I think we set assessment deadlines for the various assessments on similar dates or very close to each other, and that puts pressure on the students, but that also puts then pressure on the lecturers to have to mark all of those and provide feedback. So, okay, yes, if there are, I think, there are always exceptions, but if there are regular occurrences of delays in feedback, I think we'd want to know about that. Thank you.
So one student has said that the quality of teaching is excellent. However, they're worried about the lack of support, engagement and information sharing between certain university departments. This can be due to tech issues and or staff morale. Queries can take up to 3 months to get answered. Are you aware of these issues, and if so, what are the plans to address them?
Yes, I think you're right. We are very aware that things are falling between different departments. Our student services needs to be more integrated because we've got the student health and well-being area, we've got the iZone, which is the area which is supposed to be the one-stop shop for people to go and have inquiries and their issues dealt with. There's student finance, which is separate. They do have a physical office here on this campus, the student finance office, above the chapel in Anselm.
But you can't access them, that's the reason.
Right.
If you just give them email, they will not reply you anymore.
So we're aware that student services are split across a number of areas, and I think I'm happy to acknowledge to the person who has asked the question that we realise that things are falling between gaps, and sometimes students are being sent from one department to another, and another department to a third department, and that's not satisfactory. So we are going to do in the next 6 months a root and branch review of all our systems and processes, so that the student journey could be as smooth as possible from the day a student arrives or the day a student applies to come to study here, right the way through to their graduation.
Okay, finally going to come up there. Thank you for waiting.
Thank you. So I just wanted to go back to one of your previous questions. And I just want to stress the importance that the university needs to remain consistent with their views and policies in what's going on internationally. So you mentioned before that the university is not politically involved and is quite neutral. So can you explain to me why is there a Ukrainian flag outside Augustine's house? If you are remaining neutral, surely you'll have the Russian flag as well. I'm not saying either side is right or wrong, but if you're going to say you're not, like, if you're neutral, you need to make sure that you're consistent with that, sorry.
That's
And then
excellent
also, I
question.
wanted to go to my next point, and you didn't really answer the point about whether you believe that Palestine should be like a free state, and you didn't really mention about if you believe that there should be a ceasefire. I understand if you want to become politically neutral, you may want to pick sides. When it comes to a ceasefire, and 20s of thousands of like women, children, families have been murdered because of this, surely the university should speak up about this.
Okay, on your second and your third point, what I said was the university's approach is very much about supporting peace, and the peace vigils held in the chapel every Friday are a physical manifestation of our commitment to wanting to campaign for peace right across wherever there might be conflicts. I'm very clear that I wouldn't comment on the other two points, your second and third point, because I think that gets the university into political territory, which is very contentious. But I also said individuals do have views, I have views, you will have views. And I also said, I'm hugely mindful of the plight of the suffering in the Middle East more broadly, right across a whole range of nations, having actually been in both West Bank and in Israel when the crisis started. On the issue of the Ukrainian flag, I think you're right to challenge me on that issue. We are looking to have a peace flag for peace, internationally recognized flag for peace, flying from that flagpole as soon as we can practically obtain it and place it. I think with hindsight, if you look at the statements the university published around the time when the conflict started between Ukraine and Russia, all our statements have been very apolitical. But I recognize that flying the flag probably does give the sense that there is a political dimension to this, which there wasn't. I think it was a very unusual situation. I think we all found ourselves in Europe with one sovereign nation militarily invading another sovereign nation. And I think emotions were running high. Emotions are running high now with the other conflicts, so I don't want to pretend emotions aren't running high. So I think on reflection, we will look to have a flag for peace flying from Augustine House flagpole as soon as we possibly can get that.
So will the Ukraine flag still be raised there? Are you planning on raising another flag?
No, the only flag which I would like to see flown from that, except for special days like St. George's Day when St. George's flag or whatever flies, would be a flag for peace. That would be the only flag which I would like to see. And that actually then reinforces the university's position that we do not take a political position. That's not to say, we don't care about what's going on. Individually and collectively, we do care about what's going on. But it's important in my role to ensure that there is community cohesion within the university community and across its three campuses.
Amazing. Has anyone else got any questions? Thank you, Hannah.
And there's a lady over there as well.
Yeah, there's one person there over there.
Yeah. Yesterday I came from university and I received this email in my outlook that my studenthood visa is at risk because I missed an unacceptable amount of classes, which I missed none, especially this term, which is just started. And I'm just going to double down on the severity that there's not very good communication between different parts of the university. After I received this message, email, I called the compliance team, the CCCU compliance team at about 3:06 p.m. And I received, he said that, all right, I received your information, your student ID, name, all of that. And the person that I was going to direct you to is currently in a meeting. So I just said, all right, I expected today that there will be at least in 9, 10, 11 even that I received them because my student is a matter of very high importance. But I received none. Today I again called them at 11:37. He said that, all right, I remember you. I written down your information, and the person that I wanted direct you to again, like yesterday, the telephone line has a problem. So as soon as it gets fixed, he will call you. And it, as I said, was at 11 o'clock, and it's 2 now. It's a student, my visa. And the way that it was sent here suggested that I haven't, every time that I've marked my card, it didn't receive any. It's like for my first semester and my second semester, which just started, I haven't been to university at all.
Okay, well, I think there are two things here, or 2 or 3 things here. Firstly, the Home Office has asked all universities to check on attendance monitoring, so that's why you would have probably had an email. So that's in a sense a routine email, but clearly it's caused you quite a lot of upset and anxiety because you've been attending classes because your system card, you're saying, is not working. So it does require conversation with the compliance team, and you're quite rightly, trying to get hold of them. I think if you could again leave your email behind, I'll make sure that is looked at. I think our compliance team is a fairly small team in their defence, and they are working round the clock to deal with a wide range of issues. And of course, we are very mindful that those students who are on international visas, there's a risk if things are not done properly. So they are very mindful that everything needs to be done properly to make sure that you and every other international student here can carry on in their studies. So I'm sorry again that this has happened to you, and it's caused you anxiety. I mean, I don't want to get involved with the individual case about the card and whether it worked or didn't work and all of that, but I think the compliance team do need to talk to you, and if you just leave your email behind when we finish, we'll
But
pick
sir, it takes only 2 minutes. Why not your teachers are taking physical attendance? If somebody doesn't have access on card, or card is not working, then why not your teachers are directly putting physical attendance in the system? That's very simple logic. But they have plenty of time, right? But they're not using to that time.
Or even, I suggest before just going straight to the visa, contact the teachers. Like, you received that this student, like, N hasn't attended any classes, for example, in 2 weeks. Are you sure that's the student? Have you seen this student, like the whole face ID name in your class? Have you, or not? Because I have been, and I have been engaging with my teachers.
I think we shouldn't personalise it. I'm sure you have, and I'm not doubting that for one moment. If you and your colleague we'll pick up your emails when the meeting finishes, and we'll follow those 2 things up. Thank you.
Thank you both for your questions. This will be the last one, just because we've got 10 minutes, and I realise that we've got loads of people that want to ask questions, and I'm sorry we can't do all of them today.
I'm sorry.
The lady behind.
Thank you for taking time out to speak to everyone today. So my issue is very similar with the international students problem. So where the university is supposed to provide a payment plan. I think when I was registering my record last year, there were 3 options. You either pay in full, you pay 2 installments of 6,000 something, 6,500 I think is or they'll provide you a payment plan that suits your needs, and the finance team will contact you. Till today, I haven't been contacted by the finance team, and throughout first year, I kept trying to reach out to them, but there was no response. And then my lecturer said, just keep coming for lectures, and then they'll get back to you. So when they're getting back to me, it was pressuring me to then provide all of my fees that I owed. But how do I do that when you were supposed to contact me in the first place to set this up? And this issue has now gone on into my second year, where they're now saying, oh, we might actually just take you off the course, or you have to defer a year. Whereas it's not like I'm trying to come to university for free. I'm actually just trying to sort everything out, but you're not helping me. And I don't know, and I tried to, I don't know why we can't see the finance department in person, because they even to have, I was on the phone with one of them on Monday, even just to book to have an online meeting, just do it over the phone quickly, so that I know I've set a time on Tuesday, I'm meeting you via Teams. They said, oh, I still have to send an email. I sent an email last week. I've been sending emails, but they still haven't responded. I sent one yesterday. I'm probably going to have to send one today as well. I'm probably going to have to send one tomorrow. And I've been given, after speaking with the head of the law department, I've been given a 2-week time frame. So all these days that they're taking out of this 2-week time frame, that is all I have to then at least help me progress into moving on from, whatever. That's one of the issues I'm having. And then also, even with the hardship fund and all those other funds, international students don't have access to that. So I've applied. I remember when it was around when there was the cost of living crisis, I applied for it, and the reason why they declined it was because I wasn't a home student. Even some of the scholarships and fundings provided by the university is only for home students. So I think he rightly said that the student union and the student wellbeing, I think they're the only two departments that actually support you. I mean, the ISO and the compliance team are also very good, and the registration team. But then the finance department, the admissions team, and I think even with because I was in a hurry to apply, I'm not here on a student visa, so and I've been here long enough to be seen as a home student. But I was in a hurry to apply because I didn't mean to apply last year, so I ended up applying as an international student, and there's been back and forth with deciding whether I could be a home student or not. And so I emailed someone in the admissions team, and then one person said, you can be a home student, you just need to bring this and this document, which I did. Then another person said, actually, you can't be a home student. So even that confusion, and then I've had to deal with all of that and still try and manage to get the best grades that I can within my first year of study. So I don't know if there's something that the university can do about this, because within the team, within the department, it's like the communication is not, because why would one person say this and another person say the other thing, and then I'm left with confusion? It's because I'm a student. I only do what the staff will tell, because they know better. That's the reason why they're in that position. That makes sense. So if there's anything that the university can do about that.
Okay, I think a couple of comments. Do you want to repeat the thing?
It was around fees and finance and the issues within those departments.
So I think there are a couple of things which you have raised with specific examples, which in a sense we have talked about already. One is the fact that there are different departments and not always communicating with each other, and as I said, we do want to fundamentally address the student journey and all the processes involved, so there is a seamless kind of service to our student community. So that's a commitment. It will probably take 6 months to deliver that, but we are committed to wanting to do that. You've made, I think, some specific issues around finance and student finance operation. And again, if you would be kind enough to leave your name with my colleague here, who's a lady sitting here, when you're finished, when we are leaving, then we'll follow that up, because, and I'm sorry, this has again caused you quite a lot of anxiety and distress. The issue around the definition of a home student or an overseas student is quite complex, I have to say, having looked at it myself personally. So I can quite see how interpretations may vary, but again, the most senior person involved with admissions will get to have a look at it and to give you a definitive answer, if that's okay. But thank you for raising the issues, and I'm sorry you've had anxiety and distress as a result of this.
So final question. And if there are any burning questions that we want to ask at the end, please again come to the front, leave a name, your email, and the question, and we can potentially get around to answer them.
Hello. So my question is a combination of the two issues that were raised here. So for first the attendance, there has been an issue these 2 years, also in my second year now, where I am getting emails about not attending my classes, even though I am here every day and have only missed 2 or 3 classes max these 2 years. So this is also very difficult to solve because of you have to send more than 5 or 6 emails for your issue to be acknowledged, and then the answers are not complete. They are too limited on what is going on and why is it going, especially with me personally, or is it with my card? Is it with my teacher? Is it with something else? And also, the same thing is also appearing in my finance when I have paid for the two major installments. I am getting emails that ask me to pay again, or why I haven't paid these installments. And they are also, most of them are also, don't want to say threatening, but they are saying if you don't do this, you will face these consequences. And when I'm sending them emails saying that I have done all these things, I also provide proof on all these emails. I'm very respectful from them. I am getting an answer that maybe it's related to you, or lack of information from my part and not from the department that is handling my issue or my problems.
Okay, I think there's you as you say, mentioned a couple of things. I think the first point is similar to the one with the gentleman with the white top, and then the issue around finance is the same, similar to the lady at the back there. So I'll follow those both up, because clearly there's something in the system which is not working properly. In either it's the attendance monitoring system or it's something else. But we need, as a university, we need to get to the bottom of that, because I don't think should be writing out to students regularly asking why they haven't been in class if they've been in class, and we'll check on whether the system is at fault or whether there's something else going on. And I'm sorry you have had this experience to deal with, unhelpful experience to deal with.
So I think that brings our VNA, I don't know what that is, VCQ&A, there we go, those words I'm trying to get out. That brings it to a close. I'm really grateful for all of the students that have turned up today, and I hope that your questions have been answered. And if they haven't, please write them down and we'll figure out how we answer them. Yeah, I hope it was good, I hope you enjoyed it, and I think it was really important that, thank you Rama for coming along and answering them.
It's a pleasure, and I'm sorry there have been some challenging issues, and we will try and resolve them. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank Alice for everything she has done for you and the Students' Union as Students' Union President, and wish her well for the future as well. Well, wish you well, Alice. Thank you.
Thank you very much.